Hello, good morning, YouTube. Today is October the 25th, I think. Halloween is around the corner, and I know my first video I was talking about a project that I was doing called Supergirl, where I customized a Supergirl action figure. It wasn't finished yet, but I will be updating that video with part 2, a Supergirl part 2. Right now, I want to show you the plans that I have for Halloween, which is just in a few days, next week actually, Tuesday. This is a mask of the Mighty Ducks that was made back in 1993. So it's about 24 years old, and they're very, very hard to find. I was lucky enough to find this on eBay, and when I got it, it was old, it was yellow. It basically showed its age. It's 24 years. Little kid had it. Kids played with it. It was scratched up, and it was in pretty bad shape. But what I was able to do is I was able to restore it. It is plastic, nothing special about it. But it kind of goes to show you how I was able to restore it. When I got it, I had to clean it. I disinfected it because you don't know where it's been. And if you notice these right here, these little rivets. These rivets are new. I put those on there. So the old rivets that it had were rusted, with sweat. Kids play with it, so they're sweaty. And with age, so they were old and rusted. So I had to take those off. I took them off. I cleaned the plastic. I disinfected it with bleach. And I put on these new rivets right here. And they're modern. They look a lot cooler, and they're going to hold a strap that I'm going to add to the mask. That's going to be purple, like this right here. And this the strap is going to go around, and it's going to hold it on my face like that. But because it's Halloween, I had a really great idea with this mask, where back in the 90s, there was this little cartoon. It was basically the mascot of the Mighty Ducks, and his name was Wild Wing. And he would come out on a lot of the t-shirts that they would sell. And I thought it was funny. It was really cute, funny little duck. And he would play hockey. And is one of my favorite characters, because I like the way they drew him. This is the inside of the mask right here. This is a piece of foam that I put on there. And the reason I put it on so thick right there is for a special reason. So remembering that cartoon Wild Wing, that drawing, because there was a cartoon of the Mighty Ducks in the 90s, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the t-shirt designs that would come out in that time. I had a great idea for a Halloween costume, where I would try to replicate Wild Wing, the Mighty Duck mascot. And since I have a Mighty Duck jersey, I thought it would be a really good Halloween costume. So what I did was I started making the second half of the disc to make it look like a duck. So what you're looking at here, this was pre-made. I had to restore it. I cleaned it. I disinfected it. I basically restored it. Here I added the new rivets. Right here, it's not brown or yellow anymore. It's painted. So this looks brand new. That's Krylon paint. If you have any questions about what kind of Krylon paint I use, just comment on the bottom and I will reply. So I basically restored the mask, brand new. It looks brand new. And I started working on the second part of the mask. So basically what I mean is I wanted this to look like an actual duck when I put it on my head. So what I did was I got strips of paper. If you remember back in your school days when they would ask us to make projects on poster board. That's the kind of poster board that only costs like $1 or less. And that's the kind of cardboard that I used for this project. So here's a little example. These strips of paper, that's just poster board. And what I did with the poster board was that I started to make a frame of my head. So I took measurements of my head and I started to make a frame of what was going to look like a duck. So since I only needed the second half of the mask, I only did the second part. So I already have the front part and I focused on the back. So I was going to show you some photos of beginning and after, but usually the beginning process is kind of messy. You know, nothing really looks like it's going to look when you're done. So I decided to skip all of that and just show you the finished or close to the finished version. Give me a second, I'm just going to fix this right here. Okay, so this is what we're looking at right here. This is made out of poster board. So with the poster board, I made these large strips of paper to form the base or the frame of the helmet. This is what this is, the helmet for the back of my head. And on top of the poster board, after I finished the frame, I went ahead and covered it with epoxy sculpt. Epoxy, if you saw my first video, is a type of clay that hardens all by itself. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to treat it with anything. It comes in two parts, a part A and a part B. And you mix it. And when you mix it, it begins this chemical reaction where it starts to dry by itself. So with this kind of epoxy, you have about 3 hours of work time with it, and it cures in about 24 hours, so it's very hard. So underneath this is a poster frame from poster board, and on top of that, on top of all this right here, this is all epoxy sculpt over the paper. And it's very hard, it won't bend. If you drop it hard enough, it probably will crack or break, but it's pretty sturdy. It's not completely smooth. I do plan to smooth that out in a little bit, and just ignore this. It's just t-shirts that are helping me hold the mask up. So you kind of see the inside of it right there. So the whole back of my head is gonna fit on the back side. And the idea of this is the duck. So this is his bill, the side of his mouth. Those are the teeth. These are solid epoxy right there. You can hear that. And this is what it looks like from the back. Yeah, this is just a pretty basic paint job. It's not completely finished yet. That's his hair. It has a little Tim Burton origin right there. I was trying to mimic the hair that we see on Wild Wing from the cartoon in the Mighty Ducks. But I also mixed in other types of hair from Looney Tunes, from Disney, and it kind of reminds me of Tim Burton now that I look at it, like Nightmare Before Christmas or Edward Scissorhands. It has that kind of feel to it, but that wasn't the intention. I was just trying to, you know, give it a cool little hairdo, and it does look cool. It does. It does look like feathers on top of a duck's head. So the thing is, this mask is it's a two-part mask, and it's gonna help me. Just give me 1 second. It's gonna help me complete this look. So you get this mask here. You put it in the front. Oh, man. Sorry about that. You put that in the front. Okay, it wasn't cooperating with me there, but you put that in the front and see, it looks like a duck. And it reminds me of the Wild Wing cartoon or drawing that I used to have on my t-shirt when I was little. And you could kind of see the effect that I was going for. That it really does look like a duck. And it's a mighty duck. And I thought, you know, it was a really good idea for a Halloween costume. I thought it was really funny. It was unique. It was different. You know, it was Halloween. You kind of basically see the same thing over and over again. The city where I live, there's not a lot of people who really go all out. The most popular thing here is people dressing up as Cheech and Chong. That's all you ever get here. And people go nuts over that. Anything that's truly different, anything that takes imagination, anything that takes effort, doesn't really count where I live. So hopefully out there in YouTube world, there's going to be somebody out there who recognizes the effort, the uniqueness. I like the way the teeth look. Those teeth look awesome. They really do look cartoony. And that reminds me of the purpose of this mask. When I was making the mask, I wanted it to look like a cartoon. I wanted it to look like a cartoon, respect the same dynamics that a cartoon has. So when you look at a cartoon, whether it be Disney, Looney Tunes, the Mighty Ducks, they're very curvy. So a lot of the characteristics when they draw a duck, it has, you know, they look quirky, funny. If you remember DuckTales from the 90s, the ducks, you know, they had their own personality and they looked quirky, like Donald Duck, Gizmo Duck. And I wanted to respect those dimensions and bring them to life. So if those cartoons existed in real life, this is pretty much what it would look like. These are the dimensions that it would have. So as you can see, that's kind of like the width of my entire finger right there. And it's going to be the same on the other side. Let me go ahead and turn that around. If you look at it from the back. So that's my finger. And it's almost the width of my entire finger. Right there. But that's what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to achieve a cartoony, animated, funny look and bring that into the real world. And that's basically what it would look like. So if I were to put this on, which I do plan to put it on Halloween, you know, give out candy and stuff, the mouth of the duck would actually be over my ears. So my ears would actually be behind right here. So if I were to put this on, these the mouth right here, these would actually look like headphones on my head. So if you were to see me in this without the mask, the front part, these would look like earmuffs. So that's basically what I had to do in order to give it that realistic look. This bottom part, this is kind of like the base that's going to go on top of a human head, obviously. But I wanted to make it look like a duck. So in order to respect the dimensions of a cartoon, we had to modify the base or construct the base to fit on a human head, but on top of that, place things that were going to be, for example, on a human mouth is all the way over here, but on a cartoon duck it would stretch out all the way up to here. And that's what I wanted to capture. I wanted to capture the quirkiness, the funniness, the Looney Tune kind of dimensions, and I think I did a pretty good job trying to capture that. When I was working on this, it also reminded me of the Ninja Turtles, because the Ninja Turtles have that kind of those teeth right there. Like if you look at the toys and stuff, you can see a little bit of the Ninja Turtles, and that was also an influence on me when I was making this. You know, I kind of got inspiration from Disney, Looney Tunes, the Ninja Turtles, and all of it helped to make this look right here. You know, the teeth, I think I did a really good job on those teeth. They look cartoony, they look funny, and they really add to the cartoony look of this mask. So let me go ahead and just turn this forward and give you a look at what it's going to look like with the entire mask on. So here's the mask. So if you were looking at it head on, that's what it would look like. Excuse me. So there's the mask right there. What's his hair? And it was kind of simple making the hair. It's not really much. It's just a few strands of paper covered with epoxy sculpt. Obviously, with the paper, you give it life by giving it form and dimension. When I was making it, a lot of people didn't really understand that this was going to be the hair. It looked like a horn because the epoxy sculpt that I got was black, and I had to paint it white. But now that it's all finished, you can see that it actually looks like hair, and from far away, you know, it does look like hair. So that's the mask. From one side, you can see how the teeth look. Like all together, you know, my head is gonna fit in there. You see that? So a human head is designed. All of this was designed so a human head could fit in there, but not destroy the illusion that this is a costume. It's a costume prop, and it's supposed to look cartoony, and it's supposed to look like a cartoon, basically. So I hope you guys like this mask. If you have any questions on how I made it, or if you have any questions that I didn't really explain here, you know, just leave a comment on the bottom, and you know, I will reply. Alright, I'm just going to give you one more look on the other side right here. It's not really cooperating with me today, but t-shirts. Okay, sorry about that. So here you go. And another thing, I do have the programming to go ahead and edit these videos. I just not really in the mood to do that, so I do apologize for the quality. You know, I do have the technology to go ahead and edit them, make them look nice, but you know, when you do as much as I do, like this entire project took me about 3 weeks, and that's including the restoration of this mask. So the whole restoration of this mask, it took a few days to restore it back to new. The Krylon paint that I used was really good paint. It adheres to the plastic, so it's not gonna peel. You know, it chemically bonds to the plastic, so that's why it looks new. It's smooth. And the back part, the second part of the mask, took me about 2 weeks to complete. Like I said, I started with a paper frame. You know, this kind of paper. This is just regular poster board that you can get at any dollar store. It's only a few cents, so maybe what, 50 cents or 60 cents at the most. And I built the frame from that. You know, I do plan on posting a video on how to make your own frame. And on top of the frame, so all of this is hollow. That's just hollow right there. It's not solid epoxy sculpt. It's not solid clay. All of this was done with paper. So what I did was I cut strips of paper and I formed ribs, kind of like this right here, kind of like that. See, it's just strips of paper, and I curved them to form strips to make this curvature of the entire mouth, to make the dome of the entire helmet, to make the feathers of the hair. All of that's just paper, curved, glued together, and then on top of that paper, I put on the epoxy sculpt. Because if this had been solid epoxy, this would have taken forever to make. The paper was hard enough to work with. And the only reason I say that, not because it's difficult to work with, but it's, you know, it's just paper. So you have to cut it, shape it, glue it together, and then after it's done drying, you put on the epoxy sculpt over that. So if you were to take an x-ray of this, you would see ribs, strips of paper forming the ribs, and on top of that, the epoxy sculpt over that. Because if this were solid, not only would it take forever, but it's very expensive. So for about a pound of epoxy, it's about $20. And I used about roughly 2 pounds of epoxy all for this entire project. So this is solid epoxy on the outside, and it's also solid epoxy on the inside. And that's roughly 2 pounds. So I didn't use all of it. I still have some little bit left, but yeah, it's 2 pounds of epoxy roughly, a little bit less. And then this plastic mask that, again, it's 24 years old. It took me forever to find it. And when I got it, it was, you know, it was dry, it was yellow, brown, and it was smeared with some kind of crap. I have no idea what it was, but I had to clean it, disinfect it. And then once I cleaned it, once I took off all the rust of the metal and the old straps, which were really disgusting, I cleaned it and I restored it, and, you know, I gave it a new life. So hopefully out there somebody can see how much fun this was. I had a lot of fun making it. A lot of times I was going to give up because I really didn't see it coming to shape. You know, I had an idea in my head of what it was going to look like. I drew it out, and I'm like, yeah. You know, I drew the schematics. You know, I drew my head, and then I drew where this had to be. I'm like, okay, that's going to be over my ears. That's going to be right there. And, you know, drawing this, I'm like, yeah, you know, this could work in real life. And luckily, I was lucky enough to, you know, go ahead and make this, and it turned out really, really good. Like I said, this does have to be smoothed out a little bit, but that's not much of a big deal. And I want to go ahead and make this video and show you that anything is possible with imagination, engineering, and ingenuity. Again, sorry for not cleaning up this video, cutting out all the parts where this thing was falling, but like I said, I'm just simply not in the mood right now, and I'm just eager to get this video out there, and hopefully you people in the better parts of the world will appreciate it. If you have any questions, or if you want any tips, go ahead and leave a comment, or leave a like, and I will get back to you. Thank you for watching, and you have a good day.